call the meeting to order, and I'd like to have Ann do the roll call.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Mike. So starting off, we have Mike Alley.
Present.
Is it Berger? Edward Berger, is that right? Okay, wonderful. Dennis Bland.
I see Dennis.
All right. Ian Bowen, present. Judd Fisher.
Here.
Alan Hubbard.
Here.
Bill Hanna.
Here.
Chris Lamote.
Here.
Pepper Mulhorn.
Here.
Chris Murphy.
Here.
Dan Peterson.
Present.
Beverly Pitts.
Here.
And John Pop.
Here.
Very
Wonderful.
good. Thank you. And well, we clearly have a forum. We have everybody represented today. So that's a pleasure to have all of you. We've certainly enjoyed our time here at Vincennes University with a delightful evening and dinner last night and a great discussion with President Johnson and others. But I'd like to invite Dr. Johnson to give us greetings today.
Thank you, Chairman Alley, and it's a wonderful pleasure to have you all here with us today. This is the Shake Learning Resource Center, and we've had a little bit of history lesson this last couple of days, named after Curtis G. Shake, a longtime jurist in Indiana, a former member of the Supreme Court of Justice, and a presiding judge in Nuremberg trials, who also served on VU's Board of Trustees for many years and helped to secure state funding for Vincennes University in the 1960s. So Vincennes University, as you know, as I mentioned before, is the cradle of higher education here in Indiana. We're delighted to have you all here today as we are in our 221st year of operation, and we are so pleased to have the commission here as you're celebrating your 50th year of operation. I also need to point out that this is also the 50th anniversary of the Egg McMuffin, and it is, I believe you can get them for 50 cents. So if you want to write that down, 50-cent Egg McMuffin for the 50th anniversary, that's my tip to you for the day. But we are delighted to have you here. Pleased to have the opportunity to kind of talk about some of the exciting things that Vincennes University is trying to do to help further the commission's and the state's goals for higher education and for our workforce and economic vitality going into the future. And I couldn't be more proud to show off some of the exciting things that our people do every day to help students succeed and thrive. And I also want to extend our congratulations again to Commissioner Lovers on her great service to the state as commissioner, and wish her well as she transitions to the next phase of her life in a few months. So thank you again. So delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for spending time. And if you're looking for a sweet treat to take home, Charlie's Chocolate Shop Candy Shop is just down the street on 2nd Street. And tell them I said.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Well, you have certainly fed us well and educated us well, and particularly appreciate the history lessons and all the wonderful things happening here at the Vincennes University. So congratulations and thank you, Chuck. We've got a lot of changes taking place, and the first one we'd like to talk about is Alexa Deaton, our former chief financial officer, has just recently left, but we have Seth Henshaw is being considered as her replacement. So I introduced Seth earlier today, and he had an opportunity to give us a little bit of his background. He most recently served as the fiscal analyst with the Indiana Senate and touched on many issues that related to the commission's work. So he's very well informed as to what's taking place. We would like to place his name for recognition and election as the new chief financial officer. So I would open that as a table item. Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Seth. You are now our new CFO. So thank you very much. We're pleased to have you. I'd like to also just remind everyone that our meeting is being recorded today, so just be aware of that. Also, for those that are on the call video-wise, if you please mute your audio, that would probably give us a better reception and work a little bit better as well too. So if you would do that, we would greatly appreciate that. From the commissioner's report, just a couple of things I'd like to share. First, the 2021 Student Advocates Conference is going to be held December 15th and 16th. And that conference will emphasize the importance of integrated work experiences And we've already closed submissions for the breakout sessions, but registration continues to be open. And I hope all of you will take the opportunity to get registered. And if you can't participate in the entire thing, at least portions of those 2 days. It's very valuable. You'll find it very informative, and you'll learn a great deal. I'd just like also to note that this year we will be having the State of Higher Education address in person, and Commissioner Lovers has done an exceptional job of that over the years. And last year it was done on a virtual basis, but we do plan to do that in person this year. So please mark your calendars for February the 8th at the State House. And I know it will be another important speech and somewhat of a swan song, I suppose, but I know she will do an excellent job of sharing where we are today.
What time is that? Is there a time set yet?
Yeah, we need to finalize it in the afternoon. It's usually around 4 p.m.
Usually
So it'll be-
later today. Usually, yeah, then followed by a light reception. Well, as you all know, this week we heard the announcement that Teresa Lovers is deciding to move on to some new phases of her life. She's avoiding the retirement word, and I totally respect that. And knowing Teresa, I know that she's going to continue to play a meaningful role in so many different things as she moves to the next phase of her life. But she has served the commission for 12 exceptional years and done just an outstanding job and done so many very fine things for us. Her leadership has clearly left an incredible legacy for Indiana's post-secondary higher education throughout the entire state, and help generations of Hoosiers realize their dream of achieving an education. Her strategic vision, her innovative leadership have positioned Indiana truly among the best in the country in terms of being prepared to help learners achieve their full potential in our state through a very high quality and low cost, affordable education. As you all know, she's challenged Indiana to establish some very bold objectives and some strong accountabilities, centering on the affordability, completion outcomes, career preparedness. And her efforts truly have caused us to step up our game and become much better as a result of it. She's had a great positive impact and has helped Indiana and Hoosiers compete more effectively at an international level, as well as here just in the United States. You all know that she truly is genuinely recognized, not just in Indiana for her excellence, but she truly is a national leader that has received net recognition around the country for her work in education, workforce development, and has truly positioned Indiana as a model for other states. So we so appreciate, Teresa, what you have done for us and the legacy you leave and the position you place us. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was more than gracious, but I appreciate it, and I'll have other opportunities to thank you, but I will do so just briefly today. And I will say to you, Bill, as we welcome you to the commission, that you are joining the best board or commission in the state of Indiana without question. And so you will have a great opportunity to serve alongside people who really care. So thank you to each of you. And I know that that same attitude will be a part of what guides you in picking the next commissioner for Indiana as well.
I'll talk just a moment.
Sure, you're the chair.
No, just before I turn it over to you for your report, I just wanted to conclude that, as you know, Teresa's going to be leaving some very huge shoes for us to fill. With the background experience that she's had, is going to be, she's not only irreplaceable, but just a model for what we want to do. But through her proven leadership, she's clearly positioned us that we have one of the most attractive job opportunities I think that anybody could have in the country related to education. So she's positioned us to be able to attract extraordinary candidates. And I know through her efforts, the governor's efforts, and their focus on education, we want to do that. The importance of this role in addressing our workforce needs is going to continue to be paramount in the state's success going forward. And accordingly, the commission will conduct a very comprehensive search for candidates to be our next commissioner for the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. I'm very pleased that Judge Fisher, our vice chair, has agreed to serve as the chair of our search committee. And he will be bringing his search committee further together. And it's comprised of, at this point, Chris Lamoth, Chris Murphy, Dan Peterson, Dennis Bland, and then I will also be involved from an ex officio fashion, and they will begin their work immediately in terms of preparing to identify future candidates. We know there are many outstanding candidates here in Indiana that could continue, but we feel that it's such an important position that we want to make sure that we provide a very comprehensive review of all of the potential candidates and find that a person that will continue to have extraordinary credentials, bring forth the leadership and innovation that we've enjoyed under Teresa's leadership over the last several years. So we do look forward to a very comprehensive, very transparent process, and are confident that that will yield another outstanding leader for the Commission for Higher Education. So again, Teresa, thank you so very much for what you've done for us for 12 years. You will be missed without a doubt.
Mike,
I'll turn it to you for your report. Oh, questions?
could I just add something? I think it's going to be, while you talk about it's a great position for those of us that are on the committee and that be looking to the future leader, finding somebody is going to be like finding somebody who's following Vince Lombardi. This will be very difficult because she's done such a phenomenal job.
You're absolutely correct.
And more to Teresa's liking, it's tougher than that. It's going to be tougher than finding than replacing Slick Leonard.
I always wanted Slick's job. I told his wife that once. I sat next to them because I love the Pacers. And I was sitting next to Nancy and Slick one time, and I said, you know, if your husband ever retires, I'd really like his job. I think I could do some play-by-play. She didn't seem like she was too worried. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I look forward to being with you for a few more months and to really planning for a very smooth transition. But I'm completely comfortable that we're in a good place and that we have a great group of people to decide that. So let me begin by thanking VU for what's been a great 2 days, day and a half here with you. I think this is why it's so important for us to visit campuses. Somehow you just can't get a sense of what's happening unless you're here seeing these places. And so it's been just a great opportunity for us to meet some of the leaders here. And of course, Chuck and Tony and his team have been just very gracious hosts. So thank you so much. I also want to extend the staff welcome to Bill Hanna as our new member of the commission. I will say that your reputation precedes you, especially the great words that came as commendation of who you are and why you would be a great pick for us from John Costas, who we have had the opportunity. In fact, John led the search when I was the chair, when I was selected to come to the commission. And so I think his recommendation, but certainly all the work that you've done, as evidenced just this morning when we had our session about the READY grants and your contribution there. So welcome. Look forward to serving with you. You've already had a chance to meet Seth and understand a little bit about his role as CFO and associate commissioner, but I can guarantee you that in 4 days, he's hit the ground running, and he really is uniquely qualified for this job. So we're not going to miss a beat when it comes to the financial operation of what's happening at the commission. I think today's meeting, both this morning and this afternoon, as we're going to look at issues related to cybersecurity, are somewhat unique in that they have a broader state appeal and importance, as well as higher education, where higher education fits into this as well. The focus on the READY grants really talked about the importance of, I think, the regional commitment to building talent and a human infrastructure. We were talking at lunch today about the fact that, you know, when you look at those places around the state where perhaps population hasn't been growing, or areas where we're looking for advanced industries, thinking regionally as opposed to thinking in the old way by counties, I think makes a big difference about where people can choose to live and have the opportunity to have great jobs. Likewise, this afternoon's focus on cybersecurity highlights an issue that has global impact, certainly, as well as the state focus. And again, I think higher education, we'll hear from Ken and others about what is our role in providing the development that we need for talent to meet the cybersecurity needs. I know Tracy, who's going to present in just a moment, will probably remember a few months ago at a cabinet meeting when the head of state police made the comment that as concerned as he is for public safety, he's equally concerned about cybersecurity. And that really is a threat that is very real to us. And so this is going to be a discussion, not just for today, but an ongoing discussion as well. we try to highlight a lot of what we're doing and how it aligns with our strategic plan. And in recent weeks, we've had a good opportunity to really look again at that metric that's related to career relevance and making sure that our degrees and programs have embedded career relevance. On November 2nd, we brought together for an educator-employer convening a safe place for educators and employers to really talk about curriculum and valuable work-based learning experiences as well. And then a few days later, I was able to moderate a panel at a convening sponsored by Lilly Endowment, which continued this discussion really with the presidents of our colleges, public and private across the state. And I moderated a panel that consisted of Tom Linebarger from Cummins, Connie Von Stewart of PNC, and Jeff Harrison of Citizens Gas. And I point out both of these events because I think they are so consistent with our strategic plan and the necessity of really working about the alignment between these two sectors, what's happening in the education community and what's happening with our employers as well. You also know that we've been very focused on work that we've been doing, looking at a review of our outcomes-based funding formula in cooperation with the General Assembly and several national organizations, HCM strategists, National Council of State Legislators, NCHEMS, other organizations, to really look at how our formula has evolved and how we need to take into consider changing realities as we move forward. It's actually been a very positive experience, national recognition that Indiana's formula, while constantly needs to be considered in terms of changing realities, has been a leader in the nation and really been driving significant improvements in higher education in Indiana. Some of the recommendations that have come from HCM include continuing to look at additional mission differentiation in the way that we look at our formula, how we can mitigate impacts of the enrollment trends that have happened recently as we've seen declines at most institutions other than IU Bloomington and Purdue West Lafayette, and the impact of COVID, and if that has an impact on how we look at the data as it relates to outcomes-based funding formula. So we'll continue to provide more information to you about that and work obviously in partnership with colleges and universities and the General Assembly. Throughout this year, you'll know I've been bringing to us at every meeting a story about something to do with key leaders and their contributions to the commission at our 50th anniversary. I'll be passing the baton to Liz today to do this, and she'll be providing an overview of the 50 years. And let me tell you in advance that she has done a terrific job. And then in addition to whatever it was that Chuck Johnson talked about in terms of the 50th anniversary of, what was it? The
Egg McMuffin.
Egg McMuffin. I think based on me going to my Starbucks and seeing their t-shirts, I think this is the 50th anniversary of Starbucks as well, because it says 1971 on there. So lots of reasons to celebrate the 50th year. Now I'll conclude my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. Very good. Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate it very much. Now let's move on to our public square. First of all, let's review the minutes of our previous meeting. And those were presented and are in your board books. Go ahead.
No, it's
No, I think that's later.
Okay.
Yeah, she can do that later.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of
Thank
the
you.
minutes.
Second. And I thought Dennis would second. Thank you very much. We have a motion to accept the minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Those are accepted. Thank you very much. We're pleased now to move on to our public square and to talk about cybersecurity. And there's not a topic that's more relevant in virtually every board meeting and board of trustees and commission that I've been involved with. We have a lot to be concerned about. We've got a great panel discussion today with several absolute experts at this. And with that, Ken, I'm going to let you introduce the topic and we'll get rolling and learn a great deal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. On January 9th, 2017, so almost 5 years ago, Governor Holcomb signed Executive Order 1711, which created the Indiana Executive Council on Cybersecurity. I wish I could say that we had planned this months in advance, but it is fortuitous that we have this panel discussion just after the publication of the 2021 Indiana Cybersecurity Strategic Plan, which occurred just at the end of last month. So perfect timing, but we can't take credit for that. We have a distinguished panel for this afternoon. Their brief biographical sketches are included in your agenda, so I won't go through those, but I will simply, by way of introduction, I will indicate their titles. So we have Tracy Barnes, who is Chief Technology Officer at the Indiana Office of Technology. We also have Esfan Hagverdi. Dr. Hagverdi is Executive Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education at IU Bloomington. He is Professor of Computer Science, an Adjunct Professor of Mathematics, and Director of Cybersecurity and Global Policy. There's a degree program at Indiana University Bloomington, which the commission approved not too long ago. In addition, we have Jackie Lee Letterman, who is the department chair of the Information Technology program right here at Vincennes University. So let me provide a very brief overview of the structure here of the public square. Given Tracy Barnes' position as Chief Technology Officer for the state, we thought he could provide maybe a 15-minute overview or so of where things stand with respect to cybersecurity and the recent strategic plan that was published. Then we would ask Dr. Hagverdi and Jackie Lee Letterman to provide maybe 5 minutes or so about to describe their programs, what's going on at their institutions. Then we prepared some questions, but commission members can always jump in as you have no hesitation of doing, right? But then we'd like to end with maybe 5 or 10 minutes to briefly describe a survey that we recently conducted. The commissioner was asked at one of the Cybersecurity Council meetings to provide an update on workforce preparation, the pipeline of individuals who were prepared with some sort of cybersecurity knowledge. So that led to a survey, and we'd like to provide just a few minutes of update on the results, which only came in Friday of last week. So with that, I would like to invite Tracy Barnes to start the public square off.
Thank you, Ken, and Mr. Chair, appreciate the opportunity to be here, Commissioner Lovers and the other commissioners as well. I didn't have a prepared presentation. I really wanted to kind of talk through and give some background and understanding of some of the activities that have been going on at the state level and provide some broader perspective and conversation as well. Very pleased to be here, and any opportunity that we get to come out into the community and come out into the atmosphere and as technicians get away from behind the desk to understand the real perspective. As Commissioner Lovers said, I worked for the Lieutenant Governor. She did a lot of conversation around we can't govern from the 4 buildings of downtown Indianapolis. And so we need to understand how things are impacting, whether it's our universities, our industries, our communities, to make better policy decisions and make a better plan forward. As Ken mentioned, the Indiana Executive Council on Cybersecurity just released our second major strategic plan, as well as an annual report that we provided to the governor a few weeks ago. The commission was started in 2017. Actually, was created in 2016 by initial executive order under then Governor Mike Pence. But it never got a chance to get its foothold. As we all know, the election took over and everything kind of shifted quickly. When Governor Holcomb came in, he issued the executive order, and we got very operational very quickly. The good thing is it was, while maybe a little bit before its time, it was very impressive to see the amount of individuals that came out to participate and said, we need to be at the table. We want to support the state. How do we get engaged to be a part of this? When the council was initially started, there were about 20 or so committees that were created, and we had a regular participation of 200 plus individuals across almost every industry across the state, from healthcare, wastewater, water, sewage, energy, workforce development, election side with Secretary of State's office, rural communities and local government. Everyone, healthcare was another big piece as well. Everyone, the collaboration and the opportunity for everyone to come to the table to help understand their perspective and some of their specific needs and challenges that they were facing was massive. And we were able to call that into a simple, I'll say simple strategic plan or strategic guidance for the state. So if you get a chance to read it, the full document is about 1,900 pages. That's why I say simple, right? I think Ken included a kind of an executive summary or overview in all of your packets. But I would really encourage you, at least from some of the areas and the industries that you guys have familiarity with or have background in, to go out and check out the plan and the footprint that's there. One of the things that we were really trying to understand and figure out is, like you guys here, when you think about education, you guys are around the table and you know what's needed and what you see as the problems and issues and challenges within the education space. Historically, technology has not come to the table that aggressively and that collectively. And that's where we're starting to finally see this shift. I took my position about 19 months ago, and I thought I was going to have to put a lot of effort and work into helping get cybersecurity the attention and level of awareness that it needed. Fortunately or unfortunately, there have been some pretty significant cybersecurity events that have raised and elevated the concerns and needs and challenges. And so now it's a matter of, from our position, how do we help fill that gap and move things forward with the level of concern, the level of awareness, and the level of recognition that we realize in order for us to move forward, we have to come together, we have to work collectively, we have to build a collaborative footprint and environment for technology, education, healthcare, and all the industries to say, we have to find a way together to be successful. So that's where you'll see a lot of within the strategic plan here, what's next on the horizon and where we see the future of cybersecurity and technology going. Is getting the recognition that technology is not purely just about making sure that tools and applications and systems are working. There's got to be a policy side of it. There's got to be a policy understanding because of the impact that's needed in the economic development on the community and the preparation and education and workforce and broader conversations about not just making sure my iPad is working or I can print and get my email. And that's where the governor is starting to open that door and say, hey, what do we need to do to get the state in a broader position to be at the top of that pyramid of conversation? And how do we help prepare our local governments, our municipalities? How do we continue to raise the awareness? Is there a role that we have as the state without owning the problem and without feeling that we need to fix and resolve the problem, but continue to make that awareness and identify resources and give an environment and give a location for individuals and organizations and communities to go to ask for and get that help. One of the bigger initiatives that we're getting ready to start working on is we call it a whole of state cybersecurity approach. And you may notice a number of other states are starting to push for this. We've been one of the committees that I sit with it's called the NACIO, all the state chief information officers that meet regularly, has presented at the congressional level as well, the federal level, and helping make sure that we can't think about, like I say here in Indiana, the 3 buildings of downtown is only a small piece of the concern. We have to think border to border. How do we protect the state? Again, back from a policy perspective, how do we ensure that the entire footprint of the state has some opportunity and has the ability to connect and work safely? Even though as our focus as technicians are on those 3 buildings, 92 counties and 600 cities and towns all have a connection back to my backbone. And so from that perspective, I can only say I'm as safe as they are safe. And that's where that collaboration again comes back to the table of where do we connect? Where do we work with each other? I think higher education has a huge opportunity to be a part of that conversation as a whole, not just from the education side, but also with the pillars in the communities that the university and the footprint sits in and operates in. There's a lot of direction and guidance that can be given from that higher education level. So I'm very excited to be a part of that and think about the talent pipeline. I know you guys all have a lot of focus on how cybersecurity training and education and pathways and roadmaps, how they look and how they feel, and the programs that the universities are starting to put together. We absolutely need more individuals with good technical background, good technical understanding, good technical footprint, to fulfill the needs and the growing needs that we are all, facing on a daily basis. My security team at the state, about 40 people, and I've never seen a group of folks that sleep less than me, but they are constantly monitoring and watching and looking at threats and looking at concerns. And it's you've had to switch from reactive to proactive in order to try and get in front of the challenges and concerns that are out there. And we need to figure out how do we get more of that in place, not just for us, but again, for the broader conversation. So I implore you guys to continue pushing forward on the cybersecurity education footprint. One other piece I would say to that as well, and just as you're thinking about and talking about the education side and the curriculum and pathway side within training and classroom and curriculum, it's not just about creating technicians as well, right? One of the stats that's in the summary of the plan here, 85% of the incidents and breaches that are occurring from individual error. And so while I need technicians that understand how to create a bit of a fortress and a preventive environment and network, I more so need users that understand how to use and safely manage the systems that they're giving access to. When, the national average of about 10 to 15% of individuals still don't know how to determine if an email is a phishing email or not. If I think about that in the numbers of the state employment, I got 30,000 state employees, and I still have at least 3,000 state employees that are willing to click on that link, even though they know they didn't order something from Amazon, but now it's telling them that their package is either delayed or arrived. Then it's that education side as well, and helping them understand how to be good users, how to be diligent, how to understand what the impact is of that data. I was just real quick, I'll pass it on, was with, had dinner with about 6 other CIOs last night from private sector, and literally having a conversation, a realization, especially with our younger millennial populations and the amount of trust they're willing to put in sharing their data with other individuals and online and things of that nature. Those are some of the things that we have to somehow start training and educating people on, the dangers and the difficulties with what those decisions make and the positions that it puts in with. No matter how many technicians I can put in place, if they're continuing to expose and open and share that information, it puts all of us in a much more riskier footprint. So with that, again, I thank you for your time and look forward to more conversation.
Dr. Haggerty, would you like to jump in?
Thank you very much, Ken. I would like to thank the Commission for the opportunity, for the invitation to be here and to be on this panel and talk about this important topic. And also really want to congratulate the Commission for taking on this topic, which, as we all know, is getting even more important in these days. So these are just a couple of slides to give you highlights of what is going on in the cybersecurity space at Indiana University. I divided the programs into the undergraduate, graduate, and graduate certificate groups. The most recent one is a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity global policy, which is a joint venture with the Lundey School of Informatics, Computing Engineering, and Hamilton Luber School of Global International Studies. And it's a true partnership in the sense that the core of this really divides in half in terms of credit hour divided between policy and technical side. We have security specialization in the computer science degree, but that's only open to the computer science majors. We have similarly a security informatics cognate and minor, cognate only for informatics majors, and a minor for all students on campus. As for the graduate programs, we have had for many years the Master of Science in Secure Computing from our school, and recently, maybe it is 4 or 5 years old, MS in Cybersecurity Risk Management, which is a collaboration with the Kelly School of Business and Moore School of Law, and the Enterprise Security concentration under the Master of Science in Information Systems under Kelly School of Business. And there are 4 graduate certificates, 2 from the law school and 1 for each of our schools in Kelly and Lundey in business and technology side. So those are more of the curricular activities, or I should say the curricular activities are more or less confined within the context of those programs. As for the extra and co-curricular activities, last spring in 21, we started to offer a new course called Hacking for Defense, which is a partnership with the DoD through the NSIN, the National Security Innovation Network of the DoD, which brings in problems from intelligence community and DoD. We had problems from Crane, from NSA, from NASA, and a couple of other partners, the Cyber Battalion with Commander Gilroy. There are a couple of competitions we try to encourage students to take part in. We think that they are hardly valuable. In particular, Cyber Force Department of Energy, for various reasons, Hack Indiana, which is in its second year now, and National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. In terms of student activities categories, because this also is, in my mind, something that needs to get the excitement from grassroots, starting with the students, and to encourage them to come to formations and develop these activities. We have Women in Cybersecurity student chapter. The Women in Cybersecurity is a national organization, nonprofit, but we have a very active student chapter. We have various Capture the Flag CTF. I apologize for using three-letter acronyms. I will try to make sure that I spell them out. Capture the Flag team and Capture the Flag club, Cybersecurity club, and various camps, especially for women and minorities, that we started last summer, and we plan 2 more in summer 22. We have recently gotten an NSF grant for Cyber Core Scholarship for Service, and we have an Internet of Things house and hacking nights that organizes activities for students to take part. Another important thing in my mind, and we all believe in the importance of this, is that this kind of education that Tracy was referring to really has to start at the lowest level possible. You know, when you go to kindergarten, there are things that people can tell you and can teach you to make you safer all the way up. And so this outreach is extremely important for us. We have done various K-12 Capture the Flag activities, also professional development teacher, teaching the teachers in that space with multiple workshops we had for a couple of years. We also have a non-profit clinic called Serve IT, which has also a branch called Teach IT that helps teach the community, as well as help the community to take care of their web app security audits and things like that. So that is the service, free service provided for the nonprofit communities, local community, mostly Bloomington area. And the final category, which is I think very important as well, is these partnerships with certification entities, and also building the certification into the curriculum. However way that one can find to integrate that, that will be very useful for our students, because more of these are, because there are tons of these, of course. It's difficult to figure out which ones are the best ones, and everybody has their own taste of what they like, their own flavor. But nowadays, for example, DoD has now said that Security Plus by CompTIA is something that they require. So things like that. So working in that space and also establishing partnerships. So now IU is a Cisco Networking Academy, as well as a Palo Alto Network Cybersecurity Academy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, thank you for asking me to be a part of this today. I'm excited to share a little bit about what we do here at Vincent University.
Push your button. Push
To
your button. There you go.
get started, I'm actually going to give you a glimpse into my past so that you can understand the lens that I look through when it comes to cybersecurity education and the skills needed of the workforce today. So we're going to go all the way back to 1993. Here's my executive summary: computer operator, third shift. I actually had to Google to find a picture of what that might have looked like. The bag phone that I had at the time did not have a camera option on it. So that is what it looked like. Fast forward to now, and a couple degrees later, and several certifications and thousands of hours working in IT and trying to protect digital assets. Back to 1993, let's talk about corporate governance and security. Primarily, it consisted of 2 signs. One that said, please keep the door closed at all times, and the other that said, restricted area, authorized personnel only. So the point here is that back in 1993, there was not a high level of sophistication. Emotional intelligence, soft skills were not required for those who worked in information technology, and it was a very easy rule to follow. Close the door at all times to protect the data. But fast forward back to today, corporate governance and security, we have statutes, standards, frameworks, best practices, and change management protocols. This does require a high level of not just technical skill, but also emotional intelligence and soft skills, courage, competency, and integrity of those who are working in information technology for cybersecurity. And here's just a glimpse of a few of my favorite that I don't have time to get into. So CCI, courage, competency, and integrity is something that we sort of use as a framework here as we're guiding our students through our degree programs. So what does cybersecurity education look like here on the Vincennes campus? Well, we have stackable degree programs. All of our associate degree programs within information technology have some element of cybersecurity in them, whether it be a computer science course or a web design course. Cybersecurity is for everyone. The slide that you're seeing now are the degree programs that have the most cybersecurity elements to them. We do, again, use the stackable degree programs. We have been able to help numerous students take advantage of that next level job program, which has been excellent to promote and help students earn that first year certificate and then be able to stack on another year to earn an associate's degree program, and then another 2 years after that to be able to earn a bachelor's degree program. So we promote that in our dual credit space. And even most recently, as of yesterday, I was talking to a high school about the next level program that's being rolled out and how they can take advantage of that at the high school. The slide you're seeing here is just a little picture of how the stackable degree program works, and a shout out to one of our graduates of our bachelor's degree program who went through the stackable system, and she is now a systems engineer working for a major contractor in the DoD sector. And I know most of you saw the State of the Cyber Report and can read about some of the contributions and the things that Vincennes University has been working on to promote cybersecurity education. So how do we prepare graduates? Well, Dr. Johnson actually asked me one day, how do you know that you're teaching the right thing? And that was a very easy question. It's about frameworks. So using the NICE NIST framework, we also have a business accreditation because it's important for students to have those technical skills and know how to do something, but it's equally as important to know why you should be doing something. So we have numerous certifications that speak to the technical aspects of the program. We also have a very unique soft skill certification that is actually been put together by CompTIA, who does the Security Plus certification, and it is called Prepare You. And we collaborate with our psychology department here on campus to create a certificate in just soft skills. So addressing some of the unique challenges that young students in information technology have as they go through the workforce. So we were proud to put that certificate in place and put that program together. And again, focusing in on emotional intelligence, situational awareness, courage, competency, and integrity. And this slide, there's a lot to it, and I have a story that could go with every single one of these pictures. But the hands-on component is very important, and we do a lot of hands-on. You have to do hands-on in order to get students prepared for their career in cybersecurity. But what I think is really important is to make sure that their heart is in it and to let them know that they are helping others by going into a career in cybersecurity. One of my favorite projects most recently was last year we put together a business continuity disaster recovery plan for a local nonprofit who failed a cybersecurity audit because they did not have the plan. So we worked as a team and put that together. And then a group of students this year is actually going through and auditing the work and testing the plan that was put into place last year. So I think, you know, when students are trying to decide what they want to do and major in college, individuals will go into the healthcare field because they have a desire to help people. And everyone can understand if you're going to healthcare, you're going to help people. I think sometimes there's a disconnect in knowing that if you go into information technology or cybersecurity, that you're going to help people. And I feel like that's a challenge for us to take on, to let young people know that, you know, your desire to help people can be done so in the technology field, because that actually is one of my favorite parts about working in IT all of these years, is to help bring solutions and help people. And especially when we're talking cybersecurity, to be able to help people protect their identity and their digital asset is a great calling to get into. And just to echo what both of these gentlemen said, it's going to take teamwork and all of us to make this happen. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for those. Thank you so much for those initial presentations. So got about a half dozen or so questions here. Let's start with a basic one. The commission is so focused on ensuring that the workforce needs of the state are being met. How are we preparing enough individuals with cybersecurity expertise? Does that vary by the undergraduate level, certificates, associate degrees, bachelors? How about the graduate level? Are we producing enough? That's the basic question. Tracy, would you like to start off, please?
So the quick answer is no, right? And that's not a slam on anything that we're doing, but the reality is you use the word enough. I don't know if we'll ever get to having enough professionals in this space and individuals with the level of training and expertise that's needed, especially as we go from talking purely about protecting personal digital assets to focusing on protecting global digital assets and what we need at a national and federal level. I mean, the breadth and the speed at which our adversaries, our other nation states are progressing with their cyber prowess and their cyber offensive attacks. I don't want to say we're behind, but we definitely need to get more folks into the lanes and more individuals into the space to understand where the impact is. Like Jackie just said, is it's not purely about just doing technology for sake of technology. It's understanding you're having an impact and ability to help yourself, your school, your community, your state, your nation, and trying to understand how do we protect ourselves much better.
Mm-hmm. So Esfan, Jackie, from your perspective, are you getting enough students who are expressing interest and who have the kind of backgrounds who can do well in these cybersecurity programs?
I don't think we are getting enough interest from students. That has been a puzzle for me as well. Given that I'm assuming everybody knows, all these students and parents of those students know how lucrative the job market is, and the pays are good, the chances of getting a job is close to 100%. Yet, the number of students who show interest in any type of program that you put together is not anywhere close to what the market demand shows. And this is, sometimes you think because cybersecurity is by definition a highly multidisciplinary field, and that already creates maybe an impediment for many people because they think they have to know computer science really well. On top of that, they have to know how to protect information assets. On top of that, they have to have some glimpses of economy, policy, and psychology to deal with social engineering and human factors. Well, why can't I just go to computer science and use only computer science and get a job for 70,000 and let go after 85,000? So this could be one reason why there isn't as much gravitational pull of these degrees. The more we create, we see that the number of incoming students. So the cybersecurity policy program, we started with 10 students, we went up to 100 in 2 years. But if you compare to what's happening in computer science, we should have been at 500.
Jackie, how about you? Are you able to get students interested in your program?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. We need more students in the pipeline to be able to get them through the program. And again, I think it is making that connection earlier in a student's development to what a career in cybersecurity looks like and how they can be impactful in this world by majoring in cyber.
Are there good materials available that that can communicate that kind of thing?
We're starting to see more of that. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, local 4-H clubs are starting to call and request that we come and participate in events. So I think we are making progress. I have been a part of hour of code, so or computer science, CS for all, for a number of years. So that event happens annually through code.org. And before COVID hit, we would go out and take a group of my students and work with 250 fifth grade students. And we started adding a module on cybersecurity to that. So I think a lot of things that code.org has done in the computer science space is something that we could model for cybersecurity to start creating awareness at a younger age.
We've been using the term cybersecurity pretty generally. And I know that Tracy, you started to touch, I think, on this a little bit in some of your remarks, but are there certain areas of cybersecurity that are not getting enough attention in your programs or other programs? What are there certain areas where we just don't have the kind of preparation that we should for graduates who are completing programs?
Can I actually build off of that question a little bit, maybe for them as well, in the interest of trying to discover what it looks like in relevance to also the insurance industry? Are they learning the skills so that it's a co-op between balancing the risk management of the companies they could be working for? Are they able to understand the terms and the definition between how they're going to have to interact with the insurance industry to ensure that wherever they land, that there is that balance in the risk management tactics that the insurance company may want them to implement as well? So that might be able to direct that question even a little bit more into some additional skill sets that are there for these students.
That is very true. So part of it, which is not exactly the insurance part, but is the policy part, that somewhat has it as a subset, a very tiny subset of it. So what we find out is that at the undergraduate level, the answer is no. So majority of these programs can barely find the time within the 120 minus 30 gen ed to fit whatever is required to fit from the computational and cybersecurity technical side of things. There may be some projects, case studies that are built into, say, computer security or system security courses where they discuss this stuff, but never something that goes on its own as an independent thing. Now, when you go to graduate level, it's a completely different story. So at the master's level, you can hope to get these individuals who will then can leverage whatever they have. So they come either from a law background or a business background or a technical background. And if you can engineer those transitions properly so that they can get the minuses add to their single pluses or the two pluses they have add the other thing to that, then you can hope to get these sort of, if you like, holistic individuals who can then comfortably enter that market. But even at the undergraduate level, there are other aspects of cybersecurity that I think are missing. So technically breaking a system, all systems are breakable. That's one thing that we have to kind of bring ourselves to believe and not be in the illusion that, there I have the perfect system unless you unplug all your computers, put them in a box, lock it, and not use it. Then they are maybe safe. but the point is that we don't talk that much about the human side of things. Humans are involved in this. It's not just numbers and equations. It's not just cryptography. You can have the best cryptography and I can call Tracy and say, oh, Tracy, I have a fantastic paper I found. I just met you, Indiana Office of Technology can use this. He clicks and spyware is on his phone. So this type of counter social engineering, understand human psychology, understand psychology of persuasion, this type of thing is missing. Understand the constraints under which one operates, the like of which you just mentioned, you alluded to it, the insurance, but there is also economics of this. Defense is much more expensive than the cost of offense. And in general, the nations also prefer at the nation level to be on the attack side as opposed to on the defense side. Some so much so that the best defense is offense mentality. So with this kind of thing, you can imagine that people are going off the constraint-based thinking. Nobody is thinking the economics of this, the policy. Can you actually implement this? If I go and say I will make the Commission of Higher Education safe, but everybody needs to use 10-factor authentication. Everybody either will stop using or will just leave the job. So you need to understand all these balances. It should be doable, it should be reasonable, it should not take too much time, it should be efficient. At the same time, it should be secure. Another thing which is missing is I don't think we teach them properly the art and science of what can be called cyber resilience. Because we all know there will always be attacks. No matter how strong we are, there will always be attacks, there will always be failures. The point is not to be failure-proof, attack-proof. The point is to bounce back, to be able to bounce back in an adaptive mode of thinking. When you bounce back, you don't bounce back very good. You bounce back with the presence of this new danger or the new threat or the new, intrusion or whatnot, and then you improve. So that is why, as Jackie mentioned, these competitions, some of them, especially the CCDC, which focuses on blue teaming and on defensive strategies, where your job is to put together a team and go defend their business, is extremely valuable because all the constraints come into the picture, including frustration, including, all sorts of painful that you must know very well on the job that one experiences if you're put in charge of the security of an institution, of a business. No, so these aspects are all missing, unfortunately.
Just to expand on that a little bit, specifically as you talk about insurance, that's one of the reasons why, I kind of get to, while I need technicians, I need business people, I need folks that have an industry expertise as well. As Esmahan said, we can put as many technicians and as much technology in place as possible. But if I don't have a healthcare person helping me understand what is specifically considered protected health information, how the HIPAA laws and compliance requirements are specifically spelled out, things that are going on to try and figure out how do I manage that risk, which is like you said, I can minimize risk, but also create a very discomfort and uncomfortable environment for folks to operate in and potentially counterproductive environment. So that we have to acknowledge that there's going to be some risk there. But how do I make sure that I have enough understanding of that industry and of that perspective to put a solid enough solution in place that has some level of compliance and protection, but also the resiliency that when something does happen, that we can recover and remediate in an expeditious manner.
We graduate a lot of people in computer science, and I'm sort of getting ahead a little bit, but with the survey of programs, one of the things that I did notice was that for many of the computer science programs, let's say at the bachelor's level, when we asked about how many credit hours were related to cybersecurity, it didn't seem, at least to me, as if there were that many. So a bachelor's program with a major of 30, 36 hours, something like that, they only have 3 hours or 6 hours worth of cybersecurity. Is that enough? Should we be strengthening the cybersecurity content in our associate and baccalaureate degrees in computer science?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, we should be. Cybersecurity is the responsibility of everyone. And when you're talking about computer science and coding, those individuals as well need to understand how to do their job in a secure manner. So it is important. If you look out on job boards and you look for job ads for cybersecurity specialists, they will have listed different frameworks or standards that they're looking for their future employees to know. But when you look at job ads for software developers, sometimes that's the missing link. So I think it's also we need to educate our students that they're going to need to know these frameworks and how to operate securely and create secure code, as well as talking to the employers about the importance of hiring individuals that also understand how to do risk assessments and create secure code when they're working.
I think you can also accomplish it by just expanding in the footprint of even the curriculum and courses that are already in place, right? Application development, and then you add in creation of secure applications. Things of that nature that expand the current footprint of a program or a course set of coursework without it having to actually be additional courses and credits specifically around cybersecurity. And that's and I am in no fashion on the education side. I worked at Ed a long time ago at Butler University, but I was purely on the administrative side of it. There was always that battle between academics and administration. But when I look at individuals that are coming in and trying to help fulfill a footprint within my office and our teams, having that understanding of okay, here's creating a network. There's basic technology needs that need to be understood and how to connect computers and systems together. When you add in a component of creating a network securely, and creating an application, creating a website securely, it changes, and there's different protocols and different pieces that have to come into play. If you're working at a department level, that extra security may not be an important issue. If it's an internal application, internal system, you may be able to lower that risk concern and manage things differently. But when you're thinking about more of an enterprise and a bigger footprint, now I can't just pick up someone that can build an application. I need them to understand how to be much more broad in their design, their architecture, their development, and protecting the underlying data and the ancillary systems that they'll be sitting alongside of. So that's where it may or may not be a need for more coursework and credits, as much as it could be expansion of coursework within the already existing curriculum to make sure that there's components that understand the differences between, moderate security and high security for the types of systems that they're building and deploying.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we accomplish it. Because again, we're, 60 hours for an associate's degree program, 120 for a bachelor's degree program. So you're exactly right. Security cannot be an afterthought. So it has to be taught, all along the way of learning how to code and learning how to code securely. It has to go hand in hand at the same time.
Okay, how about majors outside of the computer science IT area? So, for example, business programs or healthcare administration. How do we try to build in the sensitivity to cybersecurity and those kinds of programs? Are there minors that could be developed that have coursework that a business administration major could take, or a healthcare administration major could take?
I think the answer is yes, we could do that. It will also be complicated in the sense that if it only happens in a one-sided way, either from the health side or finance side or the technology side, it risks being a bit irrelevant for the students, as opposed to an integrated approach that will be perhaps even quota. So multiple things that I personally experienced in the space of international policymaking and information cyber warfare, classes that we created, I couldn't do alone. So I could do part of it and I could read and maybe talk intelligently about some things, but I had to bring some China expert or some Russia expert into the classroom and co-teach this with them to understand, for example, the exact culture of North Korea and how North Korea would react to something like this. And so you need to do the same thing if you are creating a course, security for healthcare, security for financial sector and industry and things like that should be really studied, developed with people from both sides and then co-taught together so that it remains relevant. Motivated for students. But on top of that, you can also at least do something for everyone. I think we also need that, something like a cyber hygiene that can be taught for everybody from, history, philosophy, English majors, who is just how do you protect yourself? When you go to a browser and browse, how many people can trace you? Are there browsers can completely erase your trace of what you have done? How do you, look, what are the information that are collected? When you go to Amazon, how many things are sent from Amazon to your system that you have no idea about? When you click on things, what is a drive-by download? All sorts of things that in everyday life, whoever has a smartphone needs to know to remain clean out of spyware, out of all sorts of adware, or anything that puts them at risk. So you can do one thing like that, and then you can go and talk to people and bring in these joint courses for specific topics.
And I would just say, I would even go even younger than at the college level, right? Is kids are starting with devices at such a younger age, and whether gaming or schoolwork or their online classes or even FaceTiming with grandma. You know, everybody knows and heard a lot of the stories of what happened with Zoom when everybody decided to go work from home, and the large volume of incidents that was occurring from trying to just basically have a face-to-face meeting. So the younger we can get folks to understand, like you said, basic cyber hygiene and basic cyber practices of what the impact is of what their activity is on that device, the much better and much more broader we can start creating a resiliency of the entire economy.
Yeah, because good cyber hygiene is a habit. So the sooner that we can develop good habits in people's lives, the more secure we all will be as a population.
I think all of you have mentioned industry certifications, and from the commission standpoint, I think we're trying to focus more on industry certifications and how programs might prepare individuals to earn those. The industry certifications are attractive as a way to ensure quality, and validation of skills from a third party. And the nice thing about industry certifications is they often have, they usually have the skill sets that one needs to master articulated clearly, and they have assessments that can determine that somebody really has mastered those. In the cybersecurity area, how valuable are industry certifications? Do employers look at those for hiring and or for career advancement once someone has been hired by the company? How critical are they? And is there some consensus around which are the most important?
They're very critical. I mean, it gives us at least a minimum benchmark and baseline that we know where an individual is starting from. Even if they're not at the full level we want them to be at, we have an understanding of that perspective of what type of training and preparation they've had at that point when they're applying for that job for us. That gets a little more difficult when you start trying to compare computer science programs from university to university and degree programs of different organizations like that. But the central standards of CompTIA, Cisco certifications, things of that nature, we all know what it means if someone has their CCNA. What do they learn? What do they know? What do we need to do to get them more ingrained in our configuration? But we look at it a lot. We look at it pretty aggressively. And once we also bring folks in, our goal is to continue pushing them further up that chain and that ladder. Not just for their own personal advancement, which is great, and for our ability to tout them as their value to us, but also to showing that resilience to our customers, which are the other state agencies, of the level of aptitude and expertise that we're looking to bring on board and the value that we can provide to them as a consumer of our product stack. It's a big deal. It is a very big deal, and it's come a long way over the years where this testing has gotten a lot more in depth and a lot more dynamic. I wouldn't say it's everything at all. And I mean, there's definitely still have to be the other pieces with making you the right fit for an organization, but that's a bit of a minimum starting point to seeing where we start to have that conversation.
I agree completely. I think that it is important. I will also tell you that universities, as far as I know, at least in our programs, there hasn't been enough attention paid to the certification. So the idea has always been that the preparation that the program is giving the students should be sufficient for them to take the initial certificates that do not require work experience. Anyway, for the work experience one, you either have to have the experience, which you won't have if you're just in the college and fresh out, or that you have to go through special training of that particular certification that will replace the 1 year, say, work experience. But I haven't seen many people defending it and kind of trying to integrate it, as I was just alluding to, into the curriculum intentionally. So the idea is that the way that we have designed this should serve well all these students who want to go there. But that is one thing. On the other hand, a group of us, we are thinking that no, it should be intentional. We should actually go, probably get those certificates ourselves. Not that in this age I'm going to look for a job in that sector, but we have to see how it is and what it is ourselves, and then maybe have 1 credit courses that try to prepare without making any promises, students for, say, I think Security Plus and maybe Certified Ethical Hacker. These two probably first, and then a couple of things that would require more work experience for them. But it gives us some form of, however imperfect, it's just like SAT, right? I mean, SAT, you may criticize SAT to death. But then on the other hand, SAT at least gives you a glimpse of what it could be if you measured everybody at the national level. And like all the other medical people have their licensure that they have to go through before they can touch you. And state by state even changes, right? I mean, there are other occupations, some engineering, civil engineering has this licensure, professional licensure that you have to get. We don't in any of these.
Barbershops.
But barbershop, to cut your hair, how come your fate is in the hands of your security person who has no. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I agree. It's important as well. And we've done exactly that. Put together, 3 credit hour classes that will intentionally teach the curriculum that go along with the certification. And then if students choose to take the certification, then they can take an additional 1 credit hour class. It is a challenge, again, in the limited number of hours that we are with the students and with everything else they have going on. They're not just taking one class studying for 1 certification. They have multiple classes plus part-time jobs and everything else going on. So often it's hard for students to make the commitment to study as much as they need to actually pass the certification. So that creates a challenge for students.
And is it easier to build in some certifications than others in the curriculum? Because are there not some certifications that require X number of years of work experience before someone would even become eligible for that?
Yeah, there are, but there are those that do not require that. So for example, if you can get the Security Plus, and many of our students do get those, and as I said, multiple places now require that in order to look at your CV. Then CompTIA will tell you that Security Plus, they recommend you first get Net for Plus and A+, but you don't have to. And you don't have to have any work experience. You can just go and take the test, and just as the cost of that and non-refundable something that you have to pay. So there is a little bit of that, which probably we cannot alleviate. I mean, we cannot as a school pay for that cost, but there are models in which at least 1 or 2 universities in the United States have done something where they also take some of the cost away by returning. If you come to the class and you pay for the credit hour, I pay 50% of your first 2 certification attempts. If you can't pass in the second time, then third time you're on your own, right? But I can do that, give back some of your money to you because you came and took the class. So there are models in which we can do, and any encouragement from ICAG, although it will probably draw lots of criticism, but will be a good thing to say that, we strongly encourage universities to think along these lines.
Mhm.
Something like that will help.
Fantastic. Very good.
We wanted to spend a few minutes on the commission survey, but I want to make sure that commission members have questions.
Well, you got 3 minutes to do that.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should allow a chance for commission members to ask questions of the panelists. And then if we don't have a chance to do this, we could do this another time.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Very good. So other questions? Chris?
Well, hate to jump in. First of all, thank you very much for being here. This is such a critically important subject. It touches literally every human being and every organization. One of the things that I look at the complexity of the organization that's been formed. You lay out a strategic vision, but it requires the action and excellence of all these partners in doing all of that. One, I guess the question is, how do you ensure execution on the strategy, the 1,900-page strategy that I can't wait to read at some point. And then the other question I have is, we all have a tendency to think in terms of what we know and who we know. There are countries and there are organizations that are more advanced even than the United States. I mean, I think of Albania, believe it or not, Israel, of places that we actually have relationships with and connections with. Is there any mechanism with the council that reaches out and has an opportunity to listen and learn from others that are doing things and that get injected into a plan for Indiana.
So I'll try to answer those both pretty quickly here. So it's how do we ensure action on the items in the strategic plan? That's a very difficult piece to make happen. A lot of it is based on the willingness and effort and the desire of the different organizations to say, hey, let's help keep moving that needle forward. As you all know, the internet is an unregulated place, an unregulated footprint. And so without getting into the whole world of the politics of regulation and controls and mandates that different industries will enforce and require from a state level specific NIST and cybersecurity standards. We're really working, and that's why collaboration has been such a big word, is trying to make sure we're all at the table to say, hey, we're willing to help do our part to help bring things forward and try to help move the needle a bit more. And from the council standpoint as well, you know, some of the big partners that we have on that council are state police, Homeland Security, and our National Guard. Our National Guard does a real good job of interacting with some of our counterparts in Israel, and we do bring those individuals to the table to talk better together, understand more of that global footprint with the state-specific perspective and goals that we're wanting to accomplish. So there is a much broader conversation that's always going on and how we can have that impact with our defense industry here in the state, our education industry here within the state, and how it impacts and understands what's going on across the globe. But it's a big ocean to boil.
Other questions? Again, let's give our Ken and our panel a round of applause. There was some great information and great insights into just how the breadth of the programs we're putting forth. So I appreciate that. Plus, I learned a new word, cyber hygiene.
Yeah, me too. I learned that too, yes.
Yeah, I've never heard that word
I'm gonna
before.
start using that. That will sound so cool when I use it. And we will ask Ken to come back at our next commission meeting, and as a part of that, we'll carve out 15 or 20 minutes as a follow-up to this.
That'd be great. Very good. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. Now let's move into some of the business items that we have. And the first is an academic program for expedited action, and that's the Master of Professional Studies to be offered by the Purdue University Global. That's reflected in your books on page 28. Are there any questions regarding that? Hearing none, then I would ask for a motion to approve that on an expedited basis. All right, Dennis, in a second. Ed, okay. Very good. It's been moved to second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That is passed. Thank you very much. We have 3 capital projects for full discussion today. And the first one is from Indiana University, Bloomington, and it's the Wright Quad renovation. And it's on page 29. And we're pleased to have Dr. Tom Morrison here to join us today, Vice President for Capital Planning Facilities, a familiar face by all means, and he'll tell us a little bit more about the project.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Good to be with you again, both live and on screen. Indiana University has 2 projects for you today. The first one is on the Bloomington campus. It is the renovation of Wright Quad Residence Hall. And so to take you back in a little bit of history, we have been on an effort since roughly 2008 or 9, beginning to look at the renovation of all of our undergraduate residence halls on the Bloomington campus. This is the last one. So I've been before you several times with large projects and those renovations. And so Wright Quad, built in 1949, was built at a time when the university was growing exponentially between the late 40s and the early 1960s because of the GI Bill. And so we were putting up, WIU were putting up a residence hall every couple of years. And so that generation of residence halls all hit their renovation cycle at roughly the same time. Wright was one of the original ones. We went into it later because it had some better conditions than some of the others. And so now we are attempting to renovate that. It is 300,000 square feet. It's about 1,100 beds. It is, we're going to do the project in 2 phases over 2 years. We hope to start it this summer, do 1 phase, and then, so shut down half of it, and then do the next phase after that in reverse. There's a dining hall included in it as well. I was asked previously, what's the benefit analysis of either taking this down through demolition and building new versus renovating it. The cost of the renovation is $51.9 million. Again, 300,000 square feet. To replace that new would be at least double the cost. So it is efficient for us to renovate the residence hall. I know that you also might ask, okay, you've done all this is the last of the undergraduate halls in Bloomington, so you won't be back for a while. I can foresee in our long-term plans that we will now address some small apartment buildings, but nothing to the scale that we're dealing with now, and that is a little bit further out in the future. It's good for the students' sake that we're going to be done with this residence hall project. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. Last on this one, wanted to thank the commission staff for moving expeditiously on the review of this project. This was approved by our board of trustees in October. And so to be to this point by mid-November took some courteous calls from the commission staff asking what schedule might work and trying to fit it in, because back to Commissioner Lamotte's question of the last meeting, we are trying to figure out how to navigate supply shortages in construction. And now we are looking at having to do some advanced purchasing of construction materials that we didn't look at before. And so having your review on this time schedule and then through the subsequent state approvals, we do appreciate. So thank you. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Tom, will the same number of beds, I mean, essentially, or is it?
This is really an in-place renovation, as have all the others. So we will roughly have the same number. We'll lose a few because of accessibility and some code compliance issues. We are adding new elevators that weren't there before to this complex. So we will lose a few beds, but it is roughly the same. The walls will stay where they are. It really is a like for like.
Okay, very good. Great. Yes.
Will the dining hall be shut down in the midst of the construction, or will that remain open even with the different parts going at times?
Great question. We are going to attempt to keep it open. And so to try to do as much work as we can during the summers. We were just meeting on that yesterday, as a matter of fact, to try to figure out how operationally we could get it done and to continue with it being open. Most of the dining hall renovation is kitchen. It's not dining hall. Dining hall has had a previous renovation. So if we can get kitchen equipment, I know any of you who have done kitchen renovations recently know this can be a challenge. The Morrison family is in that as well. And so we're going to be playing with that a little bit.
And good luck with that.
So if the walls are staying the same, are the restrooms still going to be shared, or are they coming to?
The restrooms will all be renovated as well. And then we'll be adding some restroom and some restroom parity as well to try to improve that. So we've gone from in residence hall restrooms and really shower rooms is what we're talking about to more of much more of a private compliance, if you will, trying to make them more individualized as opposed to the old group showers and things like that.
So they'll still walk down the hall with a bucket, but once they get down the hall, they'll have some privacy.
You bet, and I think that builds character.
Love that. All right, Seth, can you give us the staff perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Pleasure to be here again with you today. I just wanted to add once again that as it is day 4, I do want to stress that I had an opportunity to speak with Alexa and Jasmine a few times kind of during the transitionary period. I also had the opportunity to join the Budget Productivity Committee meeting virtually on the first. And so I'm kind of dipping my feet into the capital waters from this side, but happy to be here. But based on the committee review, analysis, and previous staff analysis that was done, the staff does recommend approval for this project.
All right, very good. Thank you, Seth. Any further questions from the commission? If not, I would ask for a motion then to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. It is passed. Thank you very much. And then next, Tom, you have the IU ground lease agreement and medical education building, which is reflected on page 37.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the next project for your consideration is on the Indianapolis campus. And this will be one of the largest academic projects in the history of Indiana University. And so I'm going to take a few minutes to try to describe it for you and the methods that we propose. This is a new home, a new academic built hub home for the IU School of Medicine. The IU School of Medicine is the largest school of medicine in the country. And it exists not only in Indianapolis, but in several medical education centers around the state of Indiana. But its hub is in Indianapolis. And it exists in several buildings on the IUPUI campus right now, adjacent to the IU Health University Hospital and the Riley Hospital for Children. This proposes picking up the entire School of Medicine and moving it to a new hub next to the Methodist Hospital complex at 16th and Capitol in Indianapolis. IU Health, you may know, is going to build a new hospital in that area of the city. In fact, the development itself will encompass probably about 40 square blocks when it is ultimately complete. And so IU Health did an analysis over the last decade looking at their infrastructure needs. And I've been able to take part in some of that. And that University Hospital on the IUPUI campus and Methodist Hospital were both in need of serious infrastructure improvements. And so therefore, we had quite a bit of an analysis to look at whether that replacement hospital would exist on the IUPUI campus adjacent to Riley and the School of Medicine there, or to pick it up and move it to Methodist. Methodist provided a better efficiency for the hospital footprint. And so therefore we are picking up the School of Medicine and moving it to be with patients. If you're going to have an academic health center, it's very important in schools of medicine, of course, that your instruction, your medical faculty, medical students be adjacent to where the patients are. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This project will be 325,000 square feet. It'll be roughly a 10-story building to be built adjacent to the new hospital complex. The new hospital complex will be roughly a $2 billion project, one of the largest construction projects, vertical construction projects built in the history of the state of Indiana. And so it'll be built right next door. Our building will be also just south of the neurosciences complex, neurosciences research complex, which was built as a state-funded research building about a decade ago. And so we will be connected to that building and also connected to the hospital complex as well. Funding for this project, it is a $175 million project for the university. That funding doesn't include any state funds. It is $145 million of a grant from IU Health and $30 million of funds from the School of Medicine. The $30 million will be used to shell out research space on 3 floors of this building. The research hub of the School of Medicine will remain at IUPUI. We have too much infrastructure and research there to let that go. And so the main research hub will remain on the IUPUI campus. However, there is neurosciences research and probably an extension of that's going to go into this building at the Methodist complex. Department of Pediatrics and other research that's related to Riley will stay with Riley. Riley, if you don't know, just underwent its own renovation and expansion and is now really more of a hospital for women and children at that site. Lots of complexity to this project. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Dennis?
Yes, Mr. Morrison, you talk about the complexity of the project. Is there some naysayer that we should know about? Is there some push, some resistance to given the magnitude of this project, the significance of this move? Is there somebody who's going to come to us later and say, what world were you thinking? And or is there just this, oh, this is a tremendous move. I see the synergy. I see the move and the alignment. I don't know, maybe even Riley says, oh, this is a great move. It's opportunity for expansion on the existing IU campus. I don't know, but it's good to know more insight.
To answer the first part of your question, I am not aware of that. Now, you know, I'm fully cognizant of there's somebody, this isn't going to work for somebody. But not that we are aware of, and this project has been socialized quite a bit. I can tell you that the study of this project now is almost 10 years old. And one of the biggest issues that we had to deal with was the question of whether the project ought to exist on the IUPUI campus or on the Methodist campus. A lot of that had to do with analyzing the existing infrastructure. When all of this is complete, and the time frame for this will ultimately, all of it will be completed in probably still 6 or 7 years out. But when all of it's complete, University Hospital will likely be demolished for the most part. And we have yet to analyze all of that in terms of its infrastructure, but it will likely go away. But part of that analysis was how much we would have to invest, or IU Health would have to invest, into upgrading that hospital and its existing footprint. The other thing that we had to spend quite a bit of time analyzing in the city of Indianapolis was traffic patterns. And if any of you have traveled in that area of Indianapolis, of trying to get out of IUPUI onto I-65 and 70, I'm seeing head nods, know what that traffic knuckle is like. And looking at that in terms of elevated highways, things like that, it wasn't something that was easily solved. It made the investment in Methodist, and Methodist had newer infrastructure than University did. And so it ended up being a more efficient thing to pick up the School of Medicine and move its hub rather than to try to deal with all the other complexities and the traffic pattern complexity of in the other area of the city. There is quite a bit of opportunity, and I know IU Health is sensitive of this, to the redevelopment of the area around Methodist Hospital. And that's why I say when you tally up the blocks, this development will go from roughly 12th, which is right about where I-65 goes east and west through downtown, 12th up to about 22nd. So you're talking 10 blocks that way, and of course, about 4 blocks east to west. There is already development starting in anticipation of this project of everything from grocery stores to housing redevelopment. And so I think it is going to drive some positive redevelopment in that area of the city.
Thank you.
Okay, Seth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to highlight a phrase that Dr. Morrison used, was doesn't include any state funds. So it's hard to shed my enjoyment from that from my previous roles. But once again, based upon the committee's work on this, previous staff work on this, the review and analysis that's been done, staff recommends approval of this project.
Great, thank you, Seth. Further questions? Would ask for a motion then for approval.
So moved.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it very much. Yep. Third, we have from Ivy Tech Community College, the Indianapolis Culinary and Conference Center, reflected on page 45. And we're pleased to have Dom Chase, CFO from Ivy Tech, here to talk a little bit more about the project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Good afternoon. Good to see you all again. Ivy Tech has one project for your consideration today. It is strictly a financial transaction and ownership transaction, so it's not any kind of R&R or new build. It's our community college culinary and conference center building. So many of you may remember this from a prior commission meeting. It's where we've hosted several. It's just north of our Indianapolis campus. And it's actually the old Stouffer Hotel. Yes, Stouffer's the frozen goods. Apparently they had a wing of hotels, a chain of hotels some time ago. But in late 2010, the Lilly Endowment provided a donation to Ivy Tech for $22.9 million to purchase the old hotel. And the city of Indianapolis also contributed through their community development entity, $6.4 million in new markets tax credits. And the foundation at that time used cash in the amount of $10.5 million to contribute to the renovations as well. The original structure was built in 1965, so it needed significant renovations at this time. And really the understanding was that the college would provide $150,000 a year lease payment. And so at this time, we're seeking to reimburse the foundation for that $10.5 million investment and eliminate the lease from our books. And this is really consistent with our strategic plan related to leases. Over the last 5 years, we've taken 15 capital leases down to just 2 and saved the college over $2 million annually in payments. The remaining 2 are something we're still working on. The balloon payments for them actually exceed what we would determine a good return, but we'll still work toward that as well to eliminate leases wherever possible. The transaction is beneficial for both sides. The foundation is looking to become a self-sustaining model in terms of their operations, and they'll be able to earn interest on that $10.5 million greater than that $150,000 lease payment. And the college will own the asset. And actually our net position on our financial statements will increase by about $13.5 million just based on the value. So we're able to pay for this because of the reimbursement for revenue loss that the federal government did through the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. During the release of ARP and the rules, they actually opened it up for revenue loss and then further a revenue loss estimate. It's really the first time the federal government, in terms of a grant, has authorized claims based on estimates of revenue loss. Typically, it's an expense that you draw down from the federal government, but this opened the door for our institutions to claim the state appropriation cut in fiscal year 21 or withholding of 7%, which for Ivy Tech was about $17 million. And so those funds we held in reserve when we were able to claim them as revenue loss, and that's what we would like to use to reimburse the foundation and transfer ownership of C4 to the college. So both boards are supportive, and with that, happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thanks, Dom. Questions? Seth, staff recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following the review from the committee and staff analysis, staff does recommend approval of this project.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Moved.
And a second? Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. It's passed. Thank you, Don, very much. Next, as we promised earlier, we're going to hear a little bit more about the 50-year history of the Indiana Commission for Higher Education on our 50th anniversary. And we're very pleased that Liz has put together a terrific presentation, and I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for having me today. I recognize I'm the only thing standing between you and driving home, so I will be as fast as I can, but I do have a lot of really great information to share with you today, a lot of historical information. And I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be able to pull this all together without Joan Gabig. She's not with us today, but she's from our staff, and she spent countless hours at state archives scanning and taking pictures of old documents and finding really cool annual reports like these. So I just want to give a quick shout to her for all of her time and energy poured into this. I know she's not here, but I can't help but thank her. So yeah, we are at 50 years of the commission since our statutory creation in 1971 under Governor Eric Whitcomb, and we are really the charge that the office was given at that time was just this bold statement here: create a master plan for post-secondary education in Indiana. And that has evolved into a variety of charges, which we all know today, right? Those to coordinate a system of higher education, to work with our institutions on their missions, to approve capital projects and degree programs. Those are all things that were foundational parts of the founding of our office, and they remain so today. I would just add in there that 2012, we added in the distribution of state financial aid, and that was maybe not in our original charges, but a massive one that we have taken on since then, so I can't help but add it. But what I'm going to do is talk through the formative years of the commission. And really, I can't do that without talking about the foundation of our public institutions. So I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit more to make sure we give them the shout out they deserve. And part of the reason we chose to give this presentation today is because we knew we'd be on Vincennes University campus. And they, of course, are the first one on the list. The Jefferson Academy was founded in 1801. It later was named Vincennes University in November of 1806. And it, of course, was Indiana's first college. So shout out to Tony for your terrific tour yesterday and really highlighting the history of your time. I won't go into it any further because Tony did such a great job. I don't want to step on him, but that was a great time. In 1820, the State Seminary was founded, or as we know it today, Indiana University. It wasn't until 1838 it became known as Indiana University as we know it today. Indiana State University was founded as the Indiana State Normal School in 1865, and at that time, its core mission really was to educate elementary and high school teachers, and I would say it still remains a foundational part of its work today. It became Indiana State University in 1965, so a little bit further in its history there. Pre University was founded in 1869 as a public land grant research university under the Morrill Land Grant Act, and it really, which for those unfamiliar, turned public lands over to any state that agreed to use the land for a college focused on agriculture. So that was the founding of Purdue University. Ball State was originally created as an Eastern division of the Indiana State Normal School in 1918, and that was also focused on educating teachers. In 1822, it became an independent institution called the Ball State Teachers College, and then in 1865, it was renamed Ball State University. As we know, Ivy Tech Community College, it was founded in 1963 as the Vocational Technical College, focused on technical and vocational education. It was named officially Ivy Tech State College in 1995. And of course, in 2005, Ivy Tech was rechartered as a system of the system-wide community college in our state and remains the largest singly accredited community college in the country. So really proud of that. We were later in the community college game in Indiana, but I think it was worth it because we have a great system because of it. The University of Southern Indiana was founded in 1965 as a regional campus also of Indiana State University. It was actually Indiana State Evansville at that time. They had changed their name, so that's how they were founded.